What makes a story compelling? Seriously, when it comes to any piece of entertainment, we're all looking for something different. Good character writing, well-animated fight scenes, dense plot, or making silly theories on the internet about what two characters are most likely to kiss. Or more. That's right, my first real video essay is about this, and I'm not apologizing. Gotta show my anxiety and executive dysfunction that I have throwable hands, and I'm sometimes not scared to use them. I hyperfixate on character writing, and today I'm using it for evil and making it everyone's problem. For those who clicked on this video that don't know, The Amazing Digital Circus is a show about people trapped in a digital world inspired by I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. And in the end credits of the finale, Episode 9, we get a moment where the door of our favorite non-binary icon Zooble's door is erupting with hearts, meaning somebody is getting some six limbs in the sheets action. Who that somebody is the topic of our discussion today. I'm gonna try and organize this as professionally as possible, but I grew up on cartoons and sitcoms, so be prepared for possible jokes that we can all cringe at together. And if you disagree with any of the points I make today, please feel free to write a lengthy and angry dissertation on why I'm wrong and smell bad in the comments. I do love a friendly discussion. Oh yeah, spoilers ahead. Gangle. Yes, let's start with the answer that is probably right, and the one that somebody may be typing in the comments right now while also calling me a silly dum-dum for considering anybody else. The evidence in support of Gangle being the one behind the door is quite extensive. In the end credits, Gangle's door is also shown and is also a little bit open. Already there's a pretty strong argument to imply that she's out from her room and in Zoobles. Zooble is undoubtedly shown to be the closest with Gangle, starting with episode 4 giving Gangle a mask to try and help them out, and then inviting her to hang out with everyone after the events at Spudsy's, expressing wanting to draw with Gangle in episode 5, saving Gangle from partnering with Jax, and having a heartfelt moment on the philosophy of self-love in episode 6, and just in general how they are pretty consistently paired together. And lastly, is the fact that something they both can relate to is the fact that their character models come packed with gimmicks. And last I checked, relatability is pretty hot. But now let's discuss why it might not be Gangle. All we can truly say for sure about her door being open is that Gangle is just out and about in the circus. We see that Ragatha is out and about at the circus, maybe walking to her room, maybe going somewhere else, we don't know. Who's to say that Gangle and Zooble have the kind of friendship that comes with those kind of benefits? I know the shipping communities are ravenous and I have no beef with any ships, but in real life we must consider the fact that friendship doesn't always guarantee that kind of intimacy. Not to brag or anything, but I do have a handful of friends, and I'm 99% confident none of us want to get to know each other that well. And something to consider is the lack of evidence we have of what way everyone swings romantically, if they swing in any direction at all. Unlike VisiPop, I don't think Gooseworks has laid out every character's canonical sexual orientation. At least I assume that's not the case, because if that info was out there, I again assume it would be in the fandom wiki, and I found no such info. This honestly can be a strike for or against any of the theories here in this video, but I wanted to acknowledge it so I didn't have to, constantly be repeating it, putting in the yays or nays of everybody here. So keep that in mind. Zooble. Who says Zooble needs anyone else to have a little fun? Zooble says loving yourself is an active process, and this just might be a demonstration of that, if you know what I mean. Self-care is good for your mental health, and if that takes the form of single-player bed play, then so be it. Live your life, kings and queens. I personally get the vibe that Zooble wouldn't disagree on this philosophy, and everyone to some degree has learned conjuration. To what extent, we don't know, but this does mean that Zooble has the capacity to give themselves any kind of body part they desire. And no, I am not listing the possibilities, and neither should you in the comments, as to why it might not be just Zooble by themselves. This is the least fun option, and probably not an option I imagine most shippers would even consider. But the scientific process considers all options. But outside of the least interesting option, I don't think there's anything we can say to really rule this out completely. Kind of like how you can't prove Bigfoot does exist, but you also can't prove he doesn't exist kind of thing. Unless we want to argue about whether or not Zooble is ace, but for that I fall back to the final point I made with Gangle. Pomni. I find Pomni interesting to discuss here, because to some extent, she's the audience insert. Maybe the audience camera would be a better way to say it? I don't know. One reason I say this is because when it comes to Pomni, she doesn't have much in the way of background. At least not until the end of episode 9. The information we do have about her is that she's a young adult with a not so fun job and that she uploads unpopular YouTube videos. That alone I feel makes her the audience insert because, well, not to assume anything about anybody watching, but I imagine a lot of people who got into the amazing digital circus are also people who probably have unfun jobs, probably relatively young, and maybe at some point in their lives have uploaded videos on the internet, or at the very least consistently engage with YouTube. After all, the amazing digital circus started as just a YouTube series. For every Markiplier or Iron Mouse, there's several thousands of those uploading for fun and getting little interaction. Statistically speaking, I'm probably one of those people too. Another reason I say she's the audience insert is because she embodies the show's core message, which I won't get into because that's a whole video essay in and of itself. Leave an interaction if you wanna hear my take on that in the near future. The philosophy she carries and is reinforced by Kinger in episode 3 guides her actions throughout the show. And I believe that message is what Gooseworks wants the audience to take away from the series. They want us to be a little more like Pomni by the time we finish the series. So depending on how you feel about the audience insert characters getting together with other characters, it can paint how you feel about whether or not Pomni should be an option here, but I digress. Why might it be Pomni? Well, Pomni and Zooble are both emotionally intelligent individuals, and throughout the series, Pomni demonstrates that she's a kind and empathetic individual, even with the NPCs. Take Gummy Goo in episode 2, for example. And last I checked, kindness is very attractive. A passing glance or a subtly flirtatious comment could be all it takes to get the ball rolling in a steamy direction. Pomni shows that she's very capable of conjuration. If the revolver she pulls out of nowhere in episode 9 or the exit door she manifests in episode 8 is anything to go by. The many ways proficient conjuration can be utilized behind closed doors is definitely not something I feel I need to explain. Again, the Rule 34 spaces do that for me. Oh, please feel free not to explain in the comments, thank you. As for why it might not be Pomni, well, Pomni and Zooble barely interact with each other in the series. Besides Caine, I'm pretty sure Gangle and Jax are the ones Zooble interacts directly with the most, at least on screen. But feel free to fact check me on that. Caine. In the final moments of the show, he demonstrates that he has the capacity to learn and grow as a person. He lets go of his need for control, and it's demonstrated by how he lets everyone join in on his presentation in their own time instead of teleporting them. And while playing D&D, he's not the dungeon master. Letting go of control and being open to new ideas is a very pleasant trait for the bedroom, I've heard. Next, we gotta think about Caine's outfit. How can one argue he doesn't float around dressed to impress? Just look at that fit, that dapper top hat, and those supple gloves. Some people say that good apparel increases hotness, and I am some people. And when it comes to conjuration, nobody is beating Caine. Even if he's not as powerful as he used to be, the possibilities for what he is capable of are still endless. Again, do not tell me in the comments, thank you. Heck, the fact that he can fly could do something for some people, I don't know. Don't explain it to me. As for why Caine might not be behind Zooble's door. I know I said I wasn't going to try and assume anybody's orientation, but I feel if anything, he's the show's registered ace representation, since I can't imagine his AI was designed with anything even remotely resembling a sex drive. I honestly think the scared face he makes in the finale when Zooble comes up to give suggestions is both funny and pretty compelling evidence as to why he's not the one. Last but not least, Kinger. Why might it be Kinger? Because he's the GOAT. Need I explain how this gunslinging, advice-giving, computer-hacking, wife-loving king of a man is the undisputed GOAT of the circus? Zooble is no doubt capable of recognizing this, and maybe, just maybe, they may become curious enough to see if his GOAT status extends to other areas. When it comes to conjuration potential, it's pretty high, considering the idea that he trained everybody that isn't Caine on how to do it. Next, Kinger in Light is often described as crazy. Many men, including myself, have probably heard the advice, don't stick your dick in crazy. This phrase being used as a warning that while the experience may be exceptional, the risk of getting involved with a quote-unquote crazy person outweighs the potential pleasure. Zooble could be aware of this advice and not care. We don't know. Lastly, I know that some people are a fan of using the word daddy in the bedroom. If we were to assume that Zooble is one such fan, then I see no potential partner in the circus who fits the use more than Kinger. But feel free to disagree. As for why it's probably not Kinger, he seems pretty loyal to his wife, even if she has abstracted. I know from personal experience, my own grandmother refused to get involved in any more relationships after my grandfather passed away, so, you know, there's definitely some real world precedent for this. Also, seducing Kinger while he's illuminated does kind of come with some icky implications that I don't want to think about. Are we done here? I think we're done here. Maybe we could argue about maybe an NPC is sharing a lovely time with Zooble, but I think this video is long enough as is. If you've made it this far, thank you for being so inquisitive. You don't have to, but before you go, I'd love it if you left an interaction. Please do encourage me to talk more nonsense into the internet. This was actually kind of fun, and I don't know, maybe I might talk about something more serious next time, something a little goofy, maybe show off a video that I finished 2 years ago that I've never uploaded. Hope I've given you all something to think about and a chance to always leave your minds open to the possibilities in life. That's the outro. Ciao! It's news to me that it's news to you. To which degree, who answers to who? We could go on and on, but in the end, who are we kidding? My divinity is past infinity. Am I getting through? Seems our regime has plummeted south. No need to scream if you ain't got a mouth. Why bite the hand that feeds when it's the only hand you're getting? Time you see that this gray monkey is the only place you're ever gonna be. So step on in, take it on the chin, and don't forget who's running the show. Look at this. Absolute bliss. What a shock. Watch where you walk. I'm the host, I run the place. No, that is my name. Not enthused, just feeling used. Oh, what a goddamn shame. Congratulations, all of my friends. Blick relations are getting a cleanse. Put on your Sunday best because I'm nowhere close to quitting. So play the games and just ignore the pain, cause all that remains is how you prime your brain. Sang to me, but you're too blind to see that I'm the one who's running the show.